Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and today we have the opportunity to work on another one of those reels that we wonder, can we repair it? It has a bail that's come loose. That's easy enough to fix, but it has a stuck anti-reverse, and I guess the question there is whether the anti-reverse has got a broken spring, or if I get lucky like I did on that Eagle Claw a couple of days ago, I find that it's just grease choked and can be freed up. There's also a little bit of grind going on with this one. I'm not quite sure, but what is the reel? So the reel is a South Bend. It's a 730A. It says that it was gladding at the time, so that puts it after 1961, which makes sense because very few of these reels were made before then. It says designed and engineered in the USA by Gladding. And an interesting point with the South Bends, whether it's that one or one like this, the Cast Orono South Bend. South Bend is not a reel manufacturer. South Bend had the reels manufactured for them. This one says Gladding Group in Hong Kong. Even the older ones, these were not manufactured by South Bend. Most of these were made by, well, believe it or not, Shakespeare. Shakespeare made almost all of the early bait casters for South Bend. South Bend did bring some in from Germany and from Sweden, but most of those were made by Shakespeare. And if you go inside, I understand, most of the parts are interchangeable with Shakespeare. So if you have a broken South Bend and you have a donor reel from Shakespeare that kind of looks and feels the same, chances are that the parts will work between them. All right, well, enough of the South Bend history. South Bend was named after South Bend, Indiana, which is where they were located. And we're going to get started on this. We're going to take the reel apart. And as I take it apart, we'll examine the pieces and the parts. We'll do some cleaning and some of the other items that you need to know to service the reel. And while I do that, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. And if you do subscribe to my channel, please use that notification button. That'll let you know when I'm posting videos, and well, you'll be able to make a decision as to whether you want to watch those videos. I work on all kinds of reels. Today it's a vintage spinning reel. All right, this has got a handle that screws on, so generally speaking, you can reverse the turn of the handle, and it will come out. That'll help you to remove the main gear later. When I remove my pieces and parts, I put them into a parts tray. In this case, it's the bottom of a fast food container. And that gives me good storage where I know where it's going to be, so that when it comes time to reassemble, I can find them. Well, I'm using a broader number 2 Phillips head screwdriver to remove the case screws. And we can do a couple of things here. I can show you how to fix that bail quickly. This bail fix is not rocket science. So this bail, as you can tell, it's just got a flat piece that falls into a carrier here. And what's happened, other than not falling out, what's happened is it's just gotten banged or somehow pushed out of shape. This is a good place also to tell you to take pictures. Notice the way that this anti-reverse spring works. This would be a hard one to intuit if you took it off and you forgot how it went, because, well, it's just got a hook spring that's nestled in that little crook there. There's nothing obvious that says it belongs there, and it's got a hole in the bottom of this rotor here to do that. Let's fix that bail. Are you ready for this? Bend it. That's all you need to do. Just bend it, and then get the tension back. Bail fixed. So I know I wish I could make it more exotic than that, but that's how you fix the bail. We'll turn it to make sure that it works. We'll spin it and make it trip. And this one was sent in by Bobby. Bobby sends me a lot of reels that are, well, let's just call them project reels. We hope that they can get fixed. And this one pretty much going to be fixed. There's no question about that in my mind. To do two things. We want to see, can we fix that anti-reverse? Well, interestingly enough, boy, if this doesn't exactly look like that issue that we had with the Eagle Claw. I did the Eagle Claw reel a little while ago. The anti-reverse spring is here. If you've had this reel apart and you're looking at this video to figure out how to put the spring back on, it's got a long tag arm that sits against this wall here. It wraps around the pivot point, and maybe you can see it, maybe you can't. There is a U shape to the other end of the clip which holds to the side of that dog. This one appears to be frozen with old grease. Let's see if we can get the main gear out. We can. And I'm going to do the same thing. I called it the lazy man's approach with the Eagle Club. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to squirt that down and let penetrating oil work on that for a moment. That penetrating oil will act as a degreaser, and it should help to free that up with a little bit of effort. Take a picture here. Use your cell phone, use a camera, use a video, doesn't matter. You want to make sure that you notice how the reel is together before you take it apart. That's important on a reel like this because that is not a symmetrical crosswind block, and well, you'll see in a moment here. Pull up to remove the axle. It's real easy on reinstall to put it upside down. If you put it upside down, it's going to bump to the bottom of the pinion gear, and when it bumps to the bottom of the pinion gear, the reel is going to stop because it doesn't have the clearance to complete that stroke. While I'm doing this, cleaning up a little bit, paper towels and, well, just a little bit of elbow grease here, I want to encourage you to ask questions. If you have questions, it doesn't have to be on this reel. Maybe you're just curious about spinning reels, or when the manufacturing of these things happened, or maybe you're working on a reel and you're stuck. I'll try to get you unstuck if that's possible. I don't know everything, but I might be able to get you back on track. Just had an interesting little texting going back and forth between lady owns a Pfluger reel on a Pfluger Megaflex pole, and couldn't figure out how to get the reel off the pole. Very interesting piece, but we finally figured it out. Underneath here, we want to clean up the dried grease. We can do that again with penetrating oil. I'm going to use a cotton swab here. And you want to get the old grease out because a lot of times that old grease holds contaminants. Sometimes it holds broken parts or metal shavings or the like. All of that is detrimental to reel performance. So go ahead if you can and get those pieces out of there. All right, well, we want to remove the pinion gear next. And unfortunately, right now I don't have that socket, so I'm going to have to stop the video and go get that socket. You can't use a flat wrench for this. The lip of the bowl is too deep on the rotor to allow you to do that. So we'll shut that off. We'll be right back. Okay, so I've chosen a nut driver. This one's an old one. I got a set of these from a fella who was a mechanic for a long time. Interestingly enough, this one comes off. It's reverse threaded. You turn this clockwise to take that nut off. Clean it up, get that old grease off of there, and put that in your parts tray so you don't lose it. Just like I should have done with that crosswind block. Same thing we'll do here. We'll take that axle shaft, wipe that down, make sure that it's nice and clean. If you find any residual dirts or the like on there, take a moment to clean them off as well. So the story here is that there's a lot of old grease, and hopefully by the time we get back to that case over there, we're going to be able to free up the other piece. So the little trick with bending that axle, or that bail wire, is not just for this trick. If you have a bail that's getting stuck in the middle and kind of just won't close all the way, it's usually a bent bail wire. And all you have to do is, well, do what we did there and rebend it. I did a video on that, how to fix a bail wire that won't fully close. All right, we got to just work a little bit on this. Okay, I've taken that little washer off. Now this is threaded on, I believe. So I have this tool, the pliers. There's a ridge above this pinion gear. That's just a flat ridge. I'm going to hold it with that, being careful not to grab the teeth of the pinion gear. And then what we want to do is just turn this off. It's screwed on. So turn it off just like the nut. So that does two things. It holds the rotor on, but it also holds the pinion gear up. And I'm suspecting we don't have any bearings or anything underneath here. All right, now we should be able to drop the pinion gear back through the case. And that's the complete disassembly of this reel. A little bit more oil just to clean that up. Hopefully that penetrating oil is working on the other side of the case by now. We'll find out soon enough. But just go ahead and clean the back end of this reel. And I'm sure that the performance of this reel was all about that dried grease. It stopped the anti-reverse from working properly, and I'm sure it's been sluggish performance here. I'm also noticing as I'm looking at this though that the pinion gear looks like it's a little worn. That's probably the noise I was hearing. I'm not sure what may have caused that, but it may just be all this old grease in here too. I'm going to just grab a small mini screwdriver here. It's going to enable me to work through here. Yeah, we have a lot of dried grease in here. That might be why there's a stickiness feeling to it. So whenever you're working on the gearing, you want to check, make sure all the teeth are nice and strong, that they're not compromised, that being bent. This one looks like it has a little bit of a dent in it. And by all means, make sure that it's clean as you're doing that, because the old greases, well, they can get caught in there and become problematic. All right, I'm going to use a hard bristle brush now. It's one of those dollar store brushes. Get them in a 3-pack. You get usually something that was soft metal like a bronze, a steel, and a hard brush. And I'm seeing some wear on this. You might be able to pick it up as I'm turning it. That could cause a little bit of an issue. That's one you're going to have to live with. There's no parts availability for this reel. So if it's annoying, it's going to be one of those situations where you need to live with it. We're going to put a nice fresh coat of grease. I'm going to grease it there, and we're going to grease it on the shaft that's going to ride inside that bushing. We're going to reinsert that up, and then we're going to make sure that the bottom's clean here. It's not. And as I did that, I just knocked off a little washer, so you need to be aware of that. All right, we're in pretty good condition with the cleaning there. Hold your pinion gear tight, put that washer back on, and then you want to thread the ball back in. Again, that was reverse threaded, so you want to come in and turn this counterclockwise to get that set. And once that's set, you have the washer that goes on top. And again, a reverse threaded nut. So turn it towards you. Start it by hand. You don't want to cross thread that. And we'll take this old war horse here and get that done. Tighten that down. Give it a run. It's doing what it should be doing. There's a little click going on there. I'm not sure what that's about. I got just a little bit more dirt in that bowl there, so I'm going to grab that penetrating oil and finish that one up. Sometimes you'll hear a click if you've overbent this. Sometimes that post will come through the hole in the side plate here. And it's happened where I've gotten 1 or 2 reels in like that, and it's driven me crazy trying to figure out what it is. But eventually I got it. All right, that's the top end there. Let's come down to the bottom then. We're going to reinstall the crosswind block and the axle shaft. Just a little bit of grease onto that post. little bit of grease from behind. You definitely want to get grease into the slot where that stud is going to ride. I notice there's a little bit of dirt back in there, so let's get that out of there. A little bit of grease in that slot. Then remember, the screw side was down, and if you had any questions, go back, take a look at your pictures. Light coating of grease onto the axle shaft, and we want to align now that hole with the screw hole in the crosswind block. And once you do that, we can go into our basket, get the screw that's going to tie that down. And you can see on this one, I'm not fully in yet, but you can see with the flat top there, the top of the stroke is really right up there. So if you had installed this upside down, you would definitely have an issue where the reel would not cycle through. Okay. Let's clean up the main gear. Still letting that penetrating oil sit there. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to wipe down the old grease. Going to use that hard brush to pull it out of the teeth. Inspect the teeth as you're doing this, just like we did with the pinion gear. And I think we're in good condition there. There looks like there's one or two spots where I can't see bottom. So, alright, this is what it's going to be. Wipe down your back end. You don't have to do anything with the teeth on the back. That's where your anti-reverse dog hopefully will be intersecting with it. And we'll come around here and we'll grease the front. I want to grease the front on all aspects of this face, into the teeth and on here where that crosswind gear is going to ride. I also want to get a little bit of grease onto the back shaft that's going through the case. Now for the moment of testing here to find out, did the penetrating oil do its job? And let's see. Let's turn that to the off position. Well, it's moving. That's all good. So I think what we want to do is we want to get that set up again. And this, again, this can be called a lazy man's way of doing it. But if you just kind of keep working it, almost like the hanger kind of a thing, eventually you'll get it to just, well, do that, and that's what it should be doing. I'm just going to use this to flush a little bit more out of there, and we're going to declare victory on that one. Yeah, it's doing exactly the way it should now. All right, I think we got that back to where it should be. So let's go reinstall. When you reinstall, you set your anti-reverse dog off. So that means move this switch to the other side so that it is out of the way and it won't catch on the ridges on the back here. Go ahead and reset that. And now it's a matter of kind of aiming. You need to get the stud on the main gear into the slot on the crosswind block. And I think I just did that. Let's go into our box then and grab our 3 screws. These are all the same size, so it doesn't matter which side or which screw goes in which hole. Bobby, I think this reel's going to work again. We're going to find out shortly. And we got one more. Curious to find out what the drag system is up top. Thinking it might just be a cork washer. Not sure. We've tightened all of that down. before I put the handle on, this is a good opportunity to use some rod and reel cleaner and a scrubby pad. Need to clean up some of the stuff that transferred off your hands. And there's also some dried grease that's kind of wept out of the holes here. Do your best to clean them up. Love the patina on this reel. It tells a story of how it's been fishing. There's no question about that. Got some orange spots, some heavy paint spots, some light paint spots. And a fun looking reel. Alright, we've got that side done. Let's go ahead and take the handle now. Drop of oil onto the handle where it collapses. And let's set that aside. Come over here to your spool. Again, look at the patina on there. Bobby, get rid of that line. It's too old. There's a C-ring in here. Get a pick. There's a slot on each side of this. So start working that clip in. Be careful, it's a spring, it can shoot, cause you kind of issues. Let's take a look at what we have. We have a tension washer below. This is almost identical to that Eagle Claw setup that we saw. Clean out the channel inside, make sure that it's nice and clean. We have a ripple kind of a washer. It's going to be tension for your drag washer instead of a spring. And I guess I pretty close to right. It's either going to be leather or it's going to be cork. But regardless, it's going to be a single washer system. That's okay for this size reel. I'm going to use some steel wool. There's some old washer or remnants of a washer or grease or something on here. So I'm just going to buff that off. Some of it is tarnish. This can go down low. Looks to be a leather washer, so we want to peel that off carefully. You won't find a replacement for it, but we can use some grease on there. I'm going to use some dry grease, a nice coating on there. And work that in on both sides. Bring that in. Now we're going to bring the top washer in, and we can reset this spring. There's a groove that this rides in. Find the groove. Put one side in, and usually hand strength will enable you to sit it into the grooves like that. That's just a retaining clip. If you've lost it, you can still run your reel, but when you open your reel up by removing the drag adjuster knob here, those washers will probably fall out. All right, do a little bit of that. There's a bowl in this one. I think we'll just put a little bit of penetrating oil in there and run a Q-tip around it. Same thing on the underside, just for cleanup purposes. And let's put that back on, then we'll give the reel a test. We'll see how we did. So we were really dealing with two issues on this. The first issue was the stuck anti-reverse. The second issue was the bail. And I think we've got it. Let's give it a try. Well, we still got that little grind. I think we saw the reason for that grind. That's all about the scarring on that pinion gear. Let's turn it. We've got the turn. We can back the reel off. We can bring the reel forward. And we have a functioning reel that's got a second chance. So I hope you've enjoyed that video. If you did, please like it. And if you want to see more again, like we opened the video, please subscribe. And if you do subscribe, use that notification button to see when I'm posting. To all of our friends that are first responders and essential personnel, thank you for everything it is that you do to keep us safe. I do appreciate your efforts. To everyone, if you're interested in the art of reel repair, this is the season to go out and find them. A lot of folks are going to be doing garage sales or yard sales or tag sales or whatever it may be called in your neighborhood. A lot of times that's a great place to find used equipment, and an inexpensive way to find used equipment. And, well, a great place to start in terms of honing your skills and your ability to fix fishing reels. So with all of that, I wish you a great day. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. I hope you've enjoyed it.